we had come back from a retreat in Conception Abbey. And Conception Abbey is a basilica in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you just go, how did they decide to build a basilica, which I don't know the difference, but it's supposed to be higher than a cathedral, in the middle of a Missouri, field, practically. I mean, it's amazing. And it's dedicated to the Divine Mother. And they don't call it that, it's Mother Mary. But so I really like being there. And it's all about the welcoming each of our guests as Christ. So at least the intention is to live from this love. And so it has a sweetness to it, and it's a kindness, and usually the people that gather are, Midwestern kind of people, and we often know each other, and there's just a sweetness and an intimacy and a kindness, and that happens, and we spend a lot of time in the basilica, and the monks sing. So all the everything is singing. So they've got these big old beards and these little mouths, and just this pure tones, come out of these bearded mouths. It's really quite lovely. And so we were finished, and my friend of 40 years we were up early before the other people had gotten up, and we were just talking, and she was sort of chatting on and talking about things and, going on. And I really love her, and it didn't make any difference what we were talking about, I was just sort of listening to her talking. And all of a sudden, and it was just like that, this whole channel opened up. It started to pour forth. And it came back, and it fulfilled it even greater than it was in the beginning. And it, watch my hands. Do you see a form? Right? It's the heart. That was within me. A personality that had been raised with a long, long lineage of not enough love, not enough support, not enough abundance, not enough beauty, not enough, not enough, not enough. And when I met my husband, he was the love of my life. Had never even hoped for something that wonderful and deep. And we'd have about 1 or 2 arguments a year, and that's what it would be about. It's not enough. It was a lie. It was all a lie. I was in the very fountain of abundance, and ever renewing, and ever fulfilling, never ending. The love that the Christ described. Everything changed in that moment. And it takes a little while, because when that habit is so deep, it's a lineage. You've inherited it from your mother, and they've inherited it from their mother and father, and on and on and on, that it goes. So there's a tendency to go back into the dream, that there's not enough, that something else will fulfill you. And of course the joke is, when that's full, then there's enough. There's enough. In everything. I used to watch these, there were 2 women in this community, very powerful, wonderful women. And one woman was an extraordinary artist. I mean, really an extraordinary artist. And she was kind of a classic artist archetype, you know, where she needed a lot of time by herself and to create. And, you know, she's very intelligent and, you know, very sharp. And she was in Alzheimer's before I think anyone kind of recognized it. You know, she was pretty in the middle of it. And because of that, and I'm not saying this is karma, I mean, it was just sort of a way of being supported. She, you know, wasn't eating. Her house was starting to become a mess. You know, she was getting confused. She didn't have enough. And so several people, you know, myself included, we started to see if there wasn't people who could come in and help and, you know, at least get food and whatever. And she wasn't easy to be with, and she needed her alone time, and, you know, she'd yell at people and they'd have to, you know, they'd get hurt and they'd leave. And then my friend and teacher, who just gave of herself continuously, she just lived in this love. You know, I said, Bertha, everyone loves you so much. And she would just say, well, I love everyone else. I love unconditionally. And she was always offering. She offered what she had to offer, which was her artistry in ceramics and her home and her equipment and everything. As she was passing, you know, she had to like beat people off with a stick practically, because everyone was there. She just had support, over support, over support, over support. So what I'm trying to say is, if it pours out of you, then it comes back into you 1,000-fold. Whether it's, you know, enough, whether meaning money, whether it's enough friends, whether it's enough support, whether it's, you know, she was equally loved and supported by her cat, one of the most magical cats I've ever met, by her, you know, sweet, goofy, dumb little dog, you know. Sorry, dog lover. This guy was like, you know. No one but Bertha good loving, you know. Peed everywhere, you know. But, you know, she loved him. And the dog just adored Bertha. You can tell I'm a cat lover. But anyway, so you know what I'm saying. Or with your partner, it doesn't mean that you cannot give of what you need. You know, I'm not getting the way you're loving me. I'm not quite getting. You know, I'm sort of wired up that I like to have a talk once in a while, right? Or da-da-da-da-da. And then the partner is going, well, yeah, but I love you by, I pay the bills, or I cook you food, or I do dishes, or I buy you nice things. Or so of course we have to come together and find out how the other is actually loving the other, right? That's important. And we have to communicate and maybe, you know, try to figure some certain things out. And there's also things that, you know, this does not work for me. Period, end of story. Adios. That's loving. That's loving. But what you find is if you say constantly to the other human being, I don't feel loved by you, that's a huge burden for that human being to carry. And they can't carry it. They can't do it. No one can carry that not enough for you. You could have people worshiping you, you know, kissing your feet constantly. And if you have a feeling of not enough, you know, it will never be enough. It'll always be a compromise. It'll always be kind of a disappointment. So that sense of being full and giving yourself because it's interiorly, constantly giving of itself, then you meet this human being full. And you don't keep telling them they're not enough. Well, what's going to happen if you're told constantly you're not enough? You know, it's a sorrow. And it's a burden, and it's something you can never fulfill. Right? It's just the way that goes. So finding that ever-flowing, ever-renewing, unconditional, unfathomable, infinite source. No matter if your mother loved you or didn't, or your father loved you or didn't, or someone thought you were cool or didn't, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We all have to come back for those pieces that were orphaned and cut off. That's a part of the liberation process. It's just a part of it. And if you think you're going to get by with it, I'd look at that one again. And a lot of spiritual personalities do. The spiritual path, if you want to call it that, is an exit clause to really deal with their humanness. And I know you've all met those personalities. I mean, we're not anything like that. I remember a woman, I really liked her because we were doing a lot of Tibetan teachings at that time. And she said, I finally just told my husband, quit using Buddha as your ally. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, Buddha said, well, the teachings mean, well, none of that exists. Well, feelings aren't true. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's true. But fundamentally, it's your journey, fundamentally. Of course, it's the love that is unfathomable, and the silence that is infinite, that is the liberating force. That's what you've got going for you, every one of you. But the alone journey is you have to take it all home yourself. You can't hang it on anyone else. I only really, and I'm not saying this is what you should or shouldn't do, I'm just saying this was my experience. I only had asked Ajo one personal question in all the time that we got to have time with him to ask him a personal question. And he just said, what you are missing from another, you have to take back and fill it yourself. And I did. And I still do. And I'm eager to do that. I no longer resist it. So just like anything else, we kind of think that we're going to have these little insights or beautiful glimpses or even a certain kind of abiding, and then that's it. That's my spiritual life, and now this is my physical life. That doesn't work. In fact, it causes greater and greater and greater pain. That's why the warning that no one pays any attention to is if you start this, take it all away. Because what happens is the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and the resistance will get deeper and deeper and deeper, and trying to keep it at bay and victimize it and spiritualize it, and it's a hell realm. You're better off keeping your head down and just living a nice, good life without any of this. You really are. It's the truth. I'm telling you the truth. But of course, it's too late now. You know, Ajahn talks about this, and I can't say I particularly, relate to it, but he talks about the awakening, or the spiritual awakening, is an adult. It's like you go through different phases. You're a child, and you're an adolescent, and then you're a young adult, and then this is supposed to be the adult, right? Well, who knows about that? But when you're an adult, you can't get by with what you got by with as a child and an adolescent. It doesn't work. Your life's a mess. So it requires stepping up to it. And it requires putting it in the foreground, no matter what. And that's why that humbleness, and I don't mean the false humbleness, but that humbleness is, I am willing to see and to bring home, and no longer project on others and spew all over the place because I'm hurt. That's like a 2-year-old child still, trying to get the parents' attention or trying to get what they want. It doesn't work. And it gets more and more and more painful. I'm saying that from my own experience. It doesn't work. It requires a tremendous courage of heart. And that courage is the willingness to move into what you don't know, what you can't control, what others are going to think of you, the whole deal. That's what it requires. And what it gives back is 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 over of what you let go of. It's not an equal exchange at all. Not even close. I know I've said this many times, but one of Ajah's favorites, my favorite poems are, he says, I gave everything to this and it was so cheap.